The title of my message today is You Gotta Know When to Hold 'Em. If you've been around long enough, you know what song I'm talking about. You gotta know when to hold 'em. This is the first Sunday in March. Our 12 Powers, Power of Wisdom, the yellow. It's the only yellow shirt I own, so this is the one you get. And it says, I'm guided by divine wisdom in every thought, word, and action. The power of wisdom in the season of Lent is my focus for today. Wisdom is the inner capacity we have to perceive what is true, what is timely, what is life-giving, and to release all that no longer serves our unfolding good. I invite you to think of Lent this season not primarily as a time of self-denial, but as a time of clarity, a season that invites honest seeing, honest choosing, and faithful release. The master teacher had said that followers should, quote, deny themselves and take up their cross daily. In other words, set aside self-serving and dedicate oneself to a spirit-centered life every day. So think of wisdom in Lent as the quiet capacity to recognize what leads us to life, capital L life, like the 12 Powers life, capital L life. Wisdom is one of the Unity's 12 powers, and as we know, our co-founders came up with these 12 spiritual abilities, identified them, called them the 12 powers. There's one associated with each month. These are all abilities that we all have and that we're all using all the time. Our task is to become aware of how we are using them and to work to use them in a skillful way rather than an unskillful way. Wisdom is understood as the spiritual faculty, the ability to discern divine order. Discern divine order. Right timing, to discern right timing, and appropriate response. Maybe the hardest part of it all. Co-founder Charles Fillmore taught that wisdom allows the mind to perceive ideas in their right relation and to make decisions aligned with divine intelligence rather than with impulse or fear. So when we talk about leading a spirit-centered life, this is an essential ability that we hone, that we work on, that we work to use in a skillful manner, so that we might respond to the world around us from that Christ consciousness, that Christ light that is within us, rather than reacting and responding from anything less than that. Think of wisdom in this way as attunement to inner guidance, spiritual guidance. Wisdom not, of course, not the accumulation of information. If anything, it's a matter of letting go than anything else. The master teacher consistently demonstrates wisdom as embodied discernment rather than an abstract principle. Embodied discernment means that you can feel the way to go. You can feel it in yourself, in your center, in your heart, right? In your heart, mind, in your gut. We talk about gut instinct. Wisdom can be understood as that gut instinct. It's a wordless knowing that we have. Wisdom appears as restraint many times, as clarity, as fidelity to divine purpose. Wisdom grows through experience and through prayer and through alignment with the Spirit. This is an ability that we develop over time. In many ways, it is, I don't want to say easier to live from wisdom the more cycles around the sun that we've had, let us say. In my experience, that's been because I've had a lot of time to make a lot of mistakes, enough times, right? I don't know if I ever made a mistake once, enough times to find a better way, a higher way, if you will, a less painful way, if you will, of being in the world. We have gratitude for all of those lessons. Nobody shows up perfect. Right? We're all on a journey of unfolding. That is as it should be. That is why we are here. We are here to learn from each other and to be teachers to one another. without even realizing that that's what is happening. That's one of the beautiful things about our world, about life as it is now. We have endless opportunities to grow, to realize, to discern, if you will, what to let go of, which is probably the harder part. And each time we do let go of something, that light that is always within us, it becomes a little more apparent, right? A little more apparent. It is not possible, as we know, to be separate from God, but it is possible to think ourselves apart. We can create enough mental noise that we cannot hear the still small voice that is always within. Lent invites a particular expression of wisdom, the wisdom to release. Release compulsive striving. I'm going to let you fill in the blanks here. I got a few suggestions. You may know some things that you are ready to release. Compulsive striving, outdated identities. Right? We all get a concept of who we are in the world that serve us for some time. And the trick is to realize when it's time to let go of that old way of seeing ourselves in the world and allow a new way to come forth. Release of habits of mind that once protected us but now restrict us. In other words, you got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. Right? This is wisdom in a nutshell. Wisdom recognizes limits without shame. Have you ever heard it said, quitters never prosper? Well, I quit drinking a long time ago, and that was a really good idea. You're just going to have to take my word for it. So that quitting has prospered me a great deal. The trick is knowing what to leave behind. Like, when is it right to try harder, and when is it right to simply let go? This is what wisdom, I can't tell you that for you. Right? Only the Spirit in you can show you that in you. The good news is you have the Spirit in you, guiding you at all times. And our practice here is to learn how to discern, how to hear, if you will, that guidance, that still small voice that I guarantee you is there. Wisdom, in a very real sense, trusts that letting go creates space for the Spirit's expression in your life. It takes courage to let go. Across contemplative traditions, wisdom is also understood as deep listening. Mystics and contemplatives describe wisdom as the fruit of silence, which is a very strange thing to say. It is a truly odd concept. The fruit of silence, where reactive patterns quiet, right? That's our mental habits, our old habits of mind. And a deeper truth becomes apparent, becomes audible, becomes clear within us. Wisdom is activated through prayer, through meditation, and through conscious alignment with divine guidance, divine mind. You can recognize wisdom as it is never in a hurry. Wisdom never rushes. It's never in a hurry. Wisdom waits. Wisdom is found in patience. Wisdom waits for clarity to arrive, which is why in our spiritual practice, and I trust we all have such a thing, a spiritual practice that we return to each day, of making the decision to set some time aside to come apart for a while and be open to the presence of the Spirit, to this so-called nothing, this silence that underpins everything that is within us. Through doing that, wisdom increases in us. There is a saying from Desjardins that I now actually have on my to-do. I have a to-do list to remind me what to do in the world because I won't remember. And it appears every day so that I can read it every day. And it says, above all, trust the slow work of God. Trust the slow work of God. Now, the first time I heard that was recently, because it gets repeated a lot in the spiritual direction program that I'm in now. It's ending soon, in May. 2-year program will be done. And the most succinct way to describe what one does as a so-called spiritual director, better called a spiritual companion, but we're never going to shake the director word. We're not directing anything, right? We're walking with you. Is trusting the slow work of God. It is in itself a spiritual practice. Active listening. Unconditional positive regard for whoever is in front of you, sharing whatever it is they feel called to share in that moment. The practice is a practice of constantly letting go. It is very much like a mindfulness meditation, constantly letting go of whatever of my thoughts, so I'll make it personal, my thoughts that come in my head as I witness someone's life experience. My mind will think things like, someone will say something like, oh, I know the perfect song. You should listen to this song. Man, this song's exactly what you're talking about. Has nothing to do with it. That's my mind getting in the way. I have to set that aside. Yeah, but it's a great song. It's okay. I am doing a disservice were I to bring that into the conversation. That's not how this works. Not at all. Anything that we might call fixing is right out. No fixing needs to happen. What needs to happen is witnessing, right? Open-hearted love. My teacher said that phrase, unconditional positive regard, he said that's psychobabble for love, right? Because if you're getting your PhD in psychology, you can't go around talking about love. But you can talk about unconditional positive regard, which is a pretty good definition. That's a pretty good nerdy definition of love. So just understand those are the same things. So as a spiritual director, when I am with someone, witnessing their experience, walking with them, I am not directing them in any way. I am acting as a companion. I'm walking with them. The things that pop in my head that might be so-called solutions, that nobody needs a solution. There is no problem that needs a solution. What we all need is to be heard. So this so-called active listening is the most powerful thing I've encountered in life. I feel like, in a way, and this hit me in the last couple of weeks, and this came up in one of my classes that I'm taking. I'm walking with 8. There are 8 of us in this cohort. That I realized that when I was a kid, for whatever reason, this is not a unique experience. When I was a kid, I did not feel like I was heard. I felt like I was directed. Sit here, do this, do that. No one's asking me how I feel about anything. Rarely asking what I want. I always felt like I needed to fit into someone else's agenda. I needed to fit in someone else's box. And this is no fault to my particular parents, who were wonderful and provided a great environment for us. That's just the way I experienced the world. Maybe I didn't have the support that I needed, given the way that my mind is wired. But that's okay. Guess what that makes me? Human, right? Just like all of us, we didn't all get what we needed, right? But we have an opportunity as we grow to recognize, well, what do I need? What kind of loving support do I need? And a little bit harder than that, where can I find it? Where can I find it? And you can find it. So I had this realization hit me, and I don't know, we'll see if this is true. Sometimes I say, okay, yeah, we'll wait and see about that. Or receive some bit of divine guidance, and I'm still so skeptical. I'm like, We'll see where we are on that on Monday. And if it's truly divine guidance, it doesn't change. So I see, okay. And I learned to trust over time. But what I felt like was, I was born to do this work. I have no natural ability whatsoever in standing here in front of you and witnessing and walking with someone on their spiritual journey. That is not, I don't know where this came from. I don't know why I've been called to this work, but I do know that I was born to do this. I was born to witness experience with someone because I need it too. And that is the secret, a secret, not just of spiritual direction, but of any kind of counseling. If you're doing it right, it is an equal exchange of energy where both people are uplifted. Yes, the roles are different. And yes, we may be coming into it with different motivations and different reasons. The Spirit does not care what it is we think has brought us there, as long as we are there and we're willing to show up in an open way. The Spirit heals both at the same time equally. It is an amazing and wonderful thing. This is, in a real sense, allowing divine wisdom to be our guide, right? To set aside our worldly thoughts like, oh, I know how to fix your problem. Oh, you should listen to this song. You should read this book. And maybe there are books and songs and all that would serve somebody, but it is not my job to tell you what you need to be doing. Not helpful. In fact, it's the opposite of helpful. What I need to do is walk with you and honor your experience. Just as at the same time, my experience gets honored. It's the most wonderful thing. Wisdom can show itself in very ordinary ways in our life. Sometimes we talk about these spiritual concepts that seem high and far away. You know, it's sort of lofty is the word, these lofty concepts. I'm always like, well, that's nice. What does this have to do with me in my life today? Right? I'm not hovering 6 inches off the ground in the lotus position, floating around this world. I'm walking it just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. And if you do know how to do that, by the way, I would like to meet with you and be healed by your presence. But wisdom shows itself in ordinary choices like choosing to respond rather than react. So you know the difference. Reaction is somebody says something that's irritating or annoying or frightful to us. We just respond instantly. React, rather. Sorry, I'm mixing them up. You just react without thinking. Instead of that, we take a breath. We allow that experience to wash over us. And we choose our response from a spiritual grounding, right? Rather than just an off-the-handle reaction or reflex, if you will. It shows up by us choosing truth rather than self-deception. Now, self-deception is an odd term. I could call most of the thoughts that run through my mind as some kind of self-deception. Why? Because I don't see the world as it is, right? I see the world as I am, right? I am projecting onto all that I experience my views, but I might be walking around thinking that I'm somehow like a neutral observer and what I'm taking in is ultimate truth. No, what I'm taking in is filtered through my own experiences in life. So if I can choose to simply notice what is rather than putting a label on it, that is a way that wisdom can operate in my life. Here's one of my favorites. I can choose curiosity over condemnation. In a way, these are all different ways of saying the same thing. Choose curiosity. Curiosity, I'm convinced, is a divine attribute. It requires an openness. It requires a not knowing, approaching things from a place of not knowing. Curiosity. Someone might share an opinion that is quite different than our own opinion. And it's very easy to condemn that point of view, mostly because we feel threatened by it. We don't like that. If I like that point of view, then I would take that one up. I don't like it. That's not my point of view. But even when it's difficult, I invite you to at least try. almost play a game. It's like playing a game. What would happen? Let me try this today. What would happen if I were just curious instead? And curious doesn't mean any particular actions need to come out of it. It could simply mean like maybe there's someone on the television. It's not like I can engage them in a conversation. And they say something, I think, that I don't know what world you're living in, but that's not the world I'm living in. Right? That's my reaction. I could just choose within myself to say, wow, I wonder what life experiences you must have had to arrive in that place. Because I've arrived where I am because of my life experiences. How did that happen? I had a friend that taught me never to say, what's wrong with you? You know, that reaction, like, what is wrong? What is your problem? What is your deal? I'll say what's wrong with you. Say, what happened to you? Again, within myself. Nobody needs to explain themselves to me. I'm not saying walk up to a person with a different political point and say, what happened to you? You know what I'm saying? That's just another jab. That's another attack. But I'm talking about within myself. Instead of saying, what is your problem? Say to myself, what happened? Openness. Can you hear the openness in that? What happened to you? Or I wonder what happened to you. I don't need an answer. I'm not trying to answer it. I'm trying to stay open because that's how the Spirit is. And again, another way of saying the same thing, choose compassion over self-righteousness. Self-righteousness. So it's like eating cake. It's like, oh, this feels good. But really, it's not doing you any good. So we choose compassion. Compassion just means understanding and empathy. It means that if I could do something to assist you on your journey, I would do something. There's an action component. Whether there's action possible or not, doesn't matter. If I have compassion for someone, I am willing to take action for their highest good, really for their highest good, not to make me feel better, but for their highest good. I read in the scripture this is astonishingly powerful. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is about a shift in perception. It always has been. That's why the master teacher goes around saying, for those who have ears to hear and eyes to see, if you could just see, if you could just hear what it is, where I'm coming from, you would get it. It would click in your head. You would get it. So it is our journey to be transformed. And wisdom renews our perception because we allow it to. Wisdom aligns our action with the Spirit. So I'm going to close with this. In Lent, wisdom matures as trust. Right? If I lean into wisdom enough, it will evolve into, it will support the growth of trust within me. Trust that all is well, that I'm okay. Even when things are happening that I don't like, I'm still okay underneath it all. Trust that the Spirit is already at work. We can begin with that. Trust that release always precedes renewal. If you're ready for a new chapter in your life, for a whole new way of being, I want you to recognize that that's always preceded by letting go of something. And that letting go is often not easy to do, and it can be very painful. Trust that clarity emerges as we listen deeply. Again, deep listening does not have judgment or assessment as part of it. It's just pure openness. So clarity emerges from that practice. The power of wisdom is something we allow, right? It's not something we earn. That's not possible. It's not like a college degree where we take classes and whatnot. You cannot learn this in the book. It's something that we allow to unfold within us. So here's our closing affirmation. I'll read it and we can share it together. I am guided by divine wisdom. I release that which no longer serves and trust the unfolding Spirit in my life. Let's say that together. I'm guided by divine wisdom. I release what no longer serves and trust the unfolding Spirit in my life.